Well, the German women's game and the German league is definitely one of the top leagues in the world. If you would compare, I mean not compare, if you would you say, okay, you have the US with the NWSL, you have the France with the Ligue 1, you have the Spanish league, you have the Swedish league, you have the Italian league, and you have one of the biggest league at the moment. It's the English Women's Super League. A lot of famous players are going there. They're doing a lot. The federation is doing a lot. They're putting a lot of money into the league, and as well on marketing wise, it's exploding right now. But this is one part. The other part is the quality part. So I think the German league still is one of the best leagues in the world.
The VAR Show. The one place for your weekly football update.
Hola, very warm welcome to the VAR show, the show which talks about all the various major football leagues in detail. Today we are going to continue the theme of interviews, and we have the sporting director of women's football at Bayern Munich, Bianca Rech, with us. So Bianca herself has been a player for Bayern Munich and also the German national team. So without wasting much time, I'd like to first thank Bianca for coming on the show. Thank you and welcome to the show. And I would like to begin by asking you, how are you and what are you doing these days?
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm good. So it's Friday. We just just before league start next week. So preparing for the league and hopefully having a successful season. So I'm looking forward.
Of course, and I wanted to ask, I want to talk about your personal footballing journey. Like when you look back, women's football, at least of now, it has sprung into more limelight than maybe what it was maybe a decade ago, all worldwide. How was your journey, in your playing career?
So I think it's quite a huge difference. As you said, it's a decade ago when I played. I went to school. I started playing football for several clubs in Germany as well in Sweden. I played German national team, the youth teams, the women's team. But as well, I didn't only play football. I had to work, I had to study. So I did quite both. I think today it's more like, in our club, we have like players, they're just 100% professional players. They're not earning the same monies as the guys. Sure, that's the difference. But still, they can live from the money they make with playing football. I think this is quite one of the biggest difference. And as well, the way the girls are playing football, the way, the all athletic part, which changed totally in the past few years.
Of course, and you said like how you had to study alongside playing. Do you think that helped you develop as a person for a post-career, post-playing career opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. I think today it's quite hard for the girls and for the women to study or to work next to playing football, because it's taking so much time. If you have a German national team player, they're away a lot of times through the whole year. So there is not really time to explore yourself, to see and to find, what are you want to do when you stop playing football, because they're not making that money that they can say after, playing a long time, and with an age of 33, they say, okay, now I live my life because I made enough money. So I think it's even harder now to find yourself, what you want to do after your career. So for my time, it really helped, because I could try a lot. I could work. I could find my passion where I see myself in the future, and that definitely helped to follow and to find my way where I want to going to be.
Of course, and I'll get back to your journey as a player, and you have played for many teams, as you mentioned, across Europe and also the national team. But if it might be a difficult question, if you had to choose one place where you had the most fun, where would that be?
Oh, that's hard. I played in several clubs in Germany, and I think I enjoyed every club, because every club was different. And even in my age, it was different. When I starting my, let's say, professional career, playing for Frankfurt and winning titles and playing in a huge team with like players which are like so known at that time. that was definitely something huge for me as a person in a young age. I also enjoyed my time abroad, like playing in Sweden, which was an amazing journey for myself, for my, I grow as a person, I'm in a country, I didn't speak the language, I was quite young. That's definitely a journey, I really liked as well, because it helped me to growing as a person. And then like playing for Bayern Munich or playing for FC Köln was definitely something I really enjoyed a lot, because this was something special for me.
Of course, and I wanted to ask you, currently in your current capacity with the club, what do you actually do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I mean, I'm the sporting director, and as well I had there's a lot of organizational stuff, but as well, the main focus is on developing the team squad for our first team, but as well I'm working on strategic plannings through like the whole department. So youth scouting, how are we setting goals within our youth, within our whole department. But the main focus is the first team. So squad planning, new players coming in, talking to agents, stuff like that. Like this is a daily business, is a lot of organizational stuff as well.
Of course, and staying with similar theme, I wanted to ask you again, this question is, you might be asked a lot, like how is the women's Bundesliga in comparison to the men's in respect to the fan culture, the fan crowd that comes, or the infrastructure or the quality?
Well, I would say it's totally different. We couldn't compare our fans or fan base compared to the men's, because I think to the women's we have different people are going. It's more like family oriented instead of like totally like this typical fan environment and culture, which is quite different to the women's. So there's a huge difference in between that. Sure, in Munich it's not so easy for a women's team, because you have so much other stuff to do on the weekend and you can do in Munich and then around Munich. So it's quite hard to get the fans into the stadium, but it's a huge task for us to do that. So, and to bring people into the stadium, but that's something we're building on it right now.
Of course, and since you played in Sweden also, like if you compare the women's game in Germany to Sweden, what is the difference? Like are the fan culture similar, or how is it?
I think it's similar. I think there's a huge difference in between, let's say, definite different cultures in general. So you have the German culture, you have the Swedish culture. Swedish cultures were very, big family oriented. It's more the equality way of thinking as well, instead of or compared to Germany. So therefore, the mindset of going to a women's football match is different than in Germany, I would say. So it's much more respected, it's much more equality thinking. And therefore, at that time when I played in Sweden, we had already quite a lot of fans, because people were very interested. You could read it in the main newspaper every day. So it's a different.
Of course, and for me being very, very unknown, to women's football in Europe, I do not know anything, to be frank. I really don't know, because it's not there in the limelight, and you don't get to see, or it doesn't have the same gravitas, at least as of now, compared to men's, at least in Asia. Mm-hmm. So, if you have to compare German women's game to maybe others in Europe, where does it stand?
Mm-hmm. Well, the German women's game and the German league is definitely one of the top leagues in the world. If you would compare, not compare, would you say, okay, you have the US with the NWSL, you have the France with the Ligue 1, you have the Spanish league, you have the Swedish league, you have the Italian league, and you have one of the biggest league at the moment. It's the English Women's Super League. A lot of famous players are going there. They're doing a lot. The federation is doing a lot. They're putting a lot of money into the league, and as well on marketing wise, it's exploding right now. But this is one part. The other part is the quality part. So I think the German league still is one of the best leagues in the world.
Of course, and when I was preparing questions for this interview, I googled your name. That's how I prepare, and I read an article or something where you had said that you wanted like incorporating women's football into men's professional game. Like, could you please, like, if you do not mind, shed some light as to what you meant? Because I just read the article and I'm like, okay, this is a good question I can ask. So,
Well, this was a project within my study, and it's about like how can you integrate a women's football department into like a men's professional environment, because sometimes people think it's quite easy to do the same with the women's as with the boys or the men's, but it's different. I think it's you can't say it's a different game, but it is, and as well, let's say the men's football is there for a long time. The history is like it's crazy. But with women's, the history is like so small, and we're just in the beginning of being big. So that's why you can't put everything in the same closet. And it's very important that you have people, if you decide for a club, let's say Borussia Dortmund, for example, because they don't have a women's club, if they would decide to take a women's football department on board, I think it's really important that you have people around they already worked in women's football, because it's just different. You can't just like say, oh, we do the same with the women's as we do with the men's. So I think this is the wrong start. The project was a little bit about that. So the differences between the men's and women's football, where we're coming from, what do you need, like best examples, worst examples, and to find, let's say, the best way how to integrate a women's football department into a men's professional environment.
of course, and you're like, I have like two questions from that. Okay, and it's like, since you are also involved with, like you said, like scouting for players, how big is the talent pool, in terms of women's football? Like you said, because a team like Borussia Dortmund doesn't have or associate itself right now, as of now, with a women's team. So is it because the lack of the talent or the lack of players available, or is it just because that they have not worked with? And also on a personal note, like when you scout, like how big of a talent pool are you working with?
I don't think it's a lack of talent, because I mean, as I said before, we have a young history. There are a lot of players outside, but they don't have the structure and the environment to build their talent. And that's why I said it's very important that you have professional clubs. They have their infrastructure, they have their environment to build talent. I think there are a lot of girls out there that don't have access to that kind of environment. And this is, I think, this is one of the biggest part. And you can see it in women's football at the moment on top level in Europe. When you see the Women's Champions League at the moment, how close the top teams are at the moment. You have Barcelona, you have Lyon, you have Wolfsburg, you have AS, you have Barcelona. They're like so close. Like you have, and that is a result of, in like providing an environment, providing infrastructure to women's football players. And I think there's a lot more talent out there. And the scouting pool, let's say it's different. It depends for what club or what, for our team, you like looking for international top players. You have another team in the league maybe which are just looking for German top players or young top players. So it's a little bit like what kind of scouting strategy you have within the club.
Of course, and and another, like, I had a follow-up to the incorporating of women's and men's game. Like, I think the closest, like, the game is to incorporating both the genders is in terms of coaching. Like, you can have a women's coach. And I think the closest anyone has come was when in Chelsea, I think Emma Hayes was touted, like, can she be the first, I think, to manage. But that, of course, would not happen at Chelsea because, like, the structure, how they function. So do you think that will ever happen? Like, at least in the near future?
Well, I think it might be possible. I think we come back to how open men's and how open clubs are for that kind of coaching, and I think it's not the quality of coaching. I think it's really like how open you are as a player and as let's say a board member to say, okay, like having a woman as a coach. But I think it's men's are coaching women's. Why it couldn't be the other way around? I think, as I said, we are young and we need better coaches, female coaches, because there are not so many out there, and it's probably a lack of how they got educated within their coaching career, because I think it's very important to not only coach women. You have to coach, let's say, boys and men's on an academy level, probably for Chelsea, like a U16 or U17 team, and you have to go through that, and you can't find female coaches on that level. I think this is the biggest difference. If we can provide female coaches this access to learn and to educate themselves on an academy level and to go through these steps as the men's does, then I think that would be the right way.
Of course, and I totally agree with you, but that's just a doubt I had, because at the end, it is the first club will always be the bravest club, to a point, because the first person will always have to take a lot of risk. So it all depends on that. So, staying with similar theme and with your current role, what are your goals that you have for the club, going forward?
I think I have quite huge goals, and the club has huge goals. In the past years, we always were number 2 in the league. We played the last 2-3 years always through Champions League quarterfinals. Last year we played Barcelona in the semi-final, and we have quite a young team. We got very good players this year. So the main goal, and the future goal with a strategic plan we definitely want to be number 1 in Germany, and as well being playing a big role in European football as well.
Of course, and I think one of the most successful teams, in women's football, at least what I could find, was Frankfurt, one of your previous teams, I think so.
Yes.
So how was your time there, when you played there?
It was an amazing time. I was a young player playing with big names, playing with really famous German national team players, and even players from abroad in one team. And I was 20 years old. So for me, the experience was amazing. And as well, winning all the titles, winning 3 times the German Cup, winning 3 times the German League, and as well the Champions League at that time, UEFA Cup, in that young age was an amazing experience for myself, and to grow as a player, and as well got a lot of injuries at that time, but still for me it was an amazing time. And as you said, Frankfurt was one of the biggest time at that decade, and they're turning now to a men's professional club. So I think it was a good time.
Of course, and what is coaching something that you would want to take up, or are you satisfied, or are you comfortable with the sporting director job that you have?
Yeah, sure. I mean, every day is different. I'm not getting bored. I get everything else. It's very interesting. You're working every time, day out, day in, with people, with humans. It's a little bit like working in a team. This is how I lived my life playing football, working within a team. So it's very important to work in a team, to have different people, different characters around you, and every day is something different. So for me, it's a perfect job. I really like it. But as well, it's a very exhausting job. I always say it's a 24/7 job. It never stops. Football never stops. But it's an amazing journey.
Of course, and staying in the same theme as a coach, what is your philosophy like? How do you like your team to play?
I think it's more like our men's team plays as well. I think very ball dominated and oriented game, and as well a very fast game into the front, and scoring a lot of goals. But I like it to really to play, the way we play, having a lot of ball possession, and then creating the chances from there, and have a high pressure team. So I really like that.
Of course, and the next question might be a little bit more, intense. We generally see patriarchal society in many countries around the world. And in your opinion, how important can football or sports in general be in women empowerment?
Oh, very important, because they have a voice. Men's football players, they're having a huge voice, and they have, it's always they're important personalities for a lot of people in the world, for young people as well. And I think it's very important. They should have that task, and they should have that mindset to help. in this case. And then it's not only about women's football, it's in general topics like equality and there are like so many topics at the moment which they should really stand for. And I think it's important because these are, they can reach the young people which are growing up.
Of course, and like on that note, I'll ask you one final question. Like, and if you had to choose, like, this will again be difficult. If you had to choose the proudest moment of your career till now, which one would that be?
Oof. Wow, that's a hard question. I would say Mia Hamm.
I don't know. Like, what is that?
She's an ex-US national team player. And I think she was a great person as well. And she's still doing a lot. And she's a very humble person. And I really, really like the way she played and as well, like how she is as a person. I think it's very interesting.
I think you answered my wrong question. Okay, I said I meant like what is the proudest moment of your career?
Oh, sorry. Oh, okay.
That's why I asked like who is that? Like what is that? I didn't know. Like
I said like I understand it wrong. I'm really sorry. I said
it's fine.
The main, football person in my career. I know. Okay, so my personal, definitely. First of all, I think my first game for the national team, to hear the first time the German anthems and playing for the women's national team. I think this is one of the, let's say, special moments I had, and as well, winning the trophy, the UEFA Cup trophy with Frankfurt at that time.
Of course, and like on that note, Bianca, thank you so much for talking to me, and I wish you all the best with with whatever you have planned for the women's game, and I hope you achieve success in that, and hope we can talk again soon. Thank you so much for coming once again. Take care, stay safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.